Kidding. Go ahead.
All right, go out.
Hey, what's going on? It's the Black Spinner Circle podcast
Welcome
with
to
Andy
my world,
Rodriguez and
folks.
myself, Al Horta. How you guys? How you doing, Andy?
I am doing fantastic. Yeah, very excited for this show. I think this is a very unique show that we're going to do today. The topic is pretty cool. I'm very excited to work on this.
Yeah, we got two great guests,
Yep.
and they both happen to be named Chris. We got Chris Elio from Redbeard Videos. How you doing, Chris?
What's happening? I'm on the road traveling. So those of you who are familiar with me, they don't see the same background. So it's a little weird. So, but yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm doing this remote from Miami. I'm working down in Miami this week, so I'm doing it from the hotel room here.
Nice.
And,
That's roughing
we
it.
got
I'm just glad I got the traveling studio that I bought a year ago and never got used. So it's virgin, it's maiden voyage, if you will. So
cool, man. And we got Chris Allo. I've been wanting to get him on the show. What's up, Chris? How are you?
What's going on? How's everybody doing? Thanks so much for asking me on. It's an honor.
Yeah, dude. Chris Allo, he's on Seeks Tranquility a lot, which is a video podcast, whatever you want to call it, vidcast, channel that Pete Pardo does. I've been watching it for years, and Chris has always been on there. He's one of my favorite guests that's always on there. He's a regular on there, so I'm glad that you were able to come on here. I remember meeting you at the Chiller Theater a couple years ago.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
You were walking out, and I was walking in, and
Yes.
I had to pull you aside. I'm like, dude, I got something for you, and I gave you an Iron Maiden beer.
That was awesome, Al. Thank you.
No problem, man. So, all right. So today's topic, we're gonna be we're doing a producer spotlight here. So what we're doing is we each picked a producer that we love, and we're ranking top 10 albums by that said producer that each of us picked. Your favorite albums by them, top 10, and we'll talk about them as we rank them, and that's really it, man. I think it's kind of like Andy was saying, it's kind of unique. I don't know if anybody's ever done a show like this. Maybe Pete has. I don't know. Has he ever done something like this?
I can't think of a show dedicated to just producers. He might have, because God, Pete has so many videos, but it's definitely unique.
yeah,
I don't know how the hell Pete does it, man. That guy just looks like the hardest working dude on the.
That's
on
crazy,
YouTube, man.
Yeah.
when you brought this topic up, I was like caught because I don't really think of producers, but there was only two that came to mind. And I wasn't going to do Eddie Kramer because I'm tired of talking about Kiss. So that's why I chose who I chose. So which would be Terry Date, because, well, he's the master of 90s metal, in my opinion. So that's where we are.
Yeah,
Chris, what do you got? Chris Allo.
Oh, I picked Martin Birch.
Yeah. And then my co-host here, Andy, who you got?
I picked Bob Ezrin.
And
So we're going to talk about Kiss anyway.
Oh yes, we are. Maybe. I don't know yet.
Well, he's only done 3 Kiss albums, so it's not going to be all Kiss.
Yeah, but he's done the biggest one and probably the most divisive one. So,
Yeah. He's covered both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So before we go to this, we have a segment called What's Spinning, where we kind of highlight maybe something we've been listening to, reading, watching, music related the past week or whatever. So we're gonna go around the horn. It's gonna be Chris Elio, Chris Allo, my co-host Andy, and myself. So Chris Elio, Mr. Redbeard, go ahead, my friend.
So I don't really listen to albums anymore. It's so weird unless something new really catches my ear. So I will say, because usually I have like massive playlists and I just kind of scramble those and, whatever comes on. So lately I've been listening to a lot of hair metal because that's been the bulk of my content lately. But the one album that I want to mention that because I never got to do my end of year list, and the one album that I have been listening to consistently is by a band called Closure in Moscow, which is based out of Australia, I believe. And they came out with an album in October called Soft Hell, and it's just so damn good. It's for those of you who might be into like the mathcore stuff, like Dance Gavin Dance or something of that nature. It's got that feel to it, but it's also got more of a pop, even like almost a dance feel to it at times. And it's great guitar work. It's phenomenal singer. The singer in this band is incredible. So Closure in Moscow, Soft Hell is definitely, it was my favorite album of 2023. So it's fantastic.
Oh,
I
cool,
gotta
man.
check that out.
Closure in Moscow. That's the name of the band.
Yep.
Okay. And where are they based out of?
I think Australia.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they're an
Interesting,
Australian
man.
band. They haven't put out anything new since, I think the last album they had out was like 2013. So it was like the first time they put something out in like almost a decade. And it's way different. I know on Sea of Tranquility, they do a lot of progressive stuff. So Closure in Moscow was definitely more of a progressive act back in the day. This new one it's still got some progressive elements, but it's not nearly as hardcore progressive as the first two albums were for sure. So
Interesting. Yeah, I wrote that down to check them out because I've never heard of them.
yeah, please do. They're really good. They're just very, very good.
All right, cool. Chris Allo, man, what do you got, brother?
Okay, this was a quick pick because you just mentioned it, but I'm like,
I know.
okay, yeah, I just bought the CD. I've been listening to it nonstop, and it's one of my favorite bands is Black Sabbath, and I'm a big Black Sabbath collector and a Black Sabbath bootleg collector. I've had this particular show on audio cassette since the 80s, but this is a new pressing from the Zodiac label in Japan, and it's Black Sabbath Last Gig with Ray, and this is Black Sabbath live from Nottingham, England. It's from June of 1986. It is the last night of the Seventh Star tour and the last ever gig that Black Sabbath did with Ray Gillen, who later went on to form Badlands with Eric Singer from Black Sabbath and Jakey Lee, formerly of Ozzy's band. And Ray Gillen is a phenomenal singer. He did like 25 gigs with Sabbath in 86. And this is an audience recording, but man, it sounds fucking phenomenal. I mean, if I didn't know better, you would think it was a proper recording, but man, it's got great stuff on here. I mean, Ray Gillen doing songs like Mob Rules and Children of the Sea and War Pigs.
Oh, wow.
But then he does a killer version of Symptom of the Universe, and I think he does an awesome version of Heart Like a Wheel. This one is Last Gig. Last Gig with Ray, and this is on the Zodiac label, which you can find on eBay, and there's some other bootleggers out there. But it's a great recording, and if you like that era of Sabbath, it's a great show. Double disc, factory pressed.
And for those of you who can't afford to buy a bootleg, it is available on YouTube too.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
of course, you want to support the artist, but for bootlegs, you're not often supporting the artist. So
true.
But that's cool. I'm gonna check that out as soon as we're done here.
Well, for a hardcore collector, and I know, and yeah, I've known for years that Chris Allo's Black Sabbath is his number one. Black Sabbath is actually my number two. Rush is my number one, but
nice.
I've
Can't go wrong with that.
I've had Sabbath bootlegs out the ass. I have boxes and boxes of stuff too. And who knows? I don't remember, but maybe I might have that date. I don't know. But that's cool as hell. Like that it's pressed on CD. I know because I used to get all my Sabbath bootlegs from the drummer my friend that's a drummer in a band that we were in together, and I mean he's a huge Sabbath head too, and he goes back. He saw his first time he saw Sabbath was on Never Say Die with Van Halen opening at the Garden.
That's crazy.
So,
that's a crazy show.
Yeah, he goes back, and I used to get a lot of Sabbath bootlegs from him for nothing. He used to have a flea market and he used to sell like bootlegs and stuff. So he used to hook me up and Rush bootlegs and all sorts of like different bands and stuff. So Steve, if you're listening, man, thanks, brother. So we're still friends. We still hang out. I mean, well, I'm down here in Florida now, so we don't hang out anymore, but I still talk to him. But yeah, man, he used to hook me up with all sorts of shit, man. So
So
that's,
Chris,
that's awesome, man.
quick
I have to revisit, like, I guess that bootleg, because I love Ray Gillen. I love his voice.
Oh, yeah, it's a great recording.
I
well,
love
quick
his,
question.
I know I have a like an FM broadcaster too, like with him.
Yeah, they did an FM broadcast from Texas.
Yes.
But it's not the complete show.
Yeah.
This is like an hour and 45 minutes, so it's a
wow.
really long show. The Texas broadcast, I think, is only like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's usually like an hour or 45 minutes when they do like radio broadcasts. Quick question for you, Chris. So, like, since Black Sabbath is your favorite band,
Yes.
do you have an era preference?
I mean, my two favorites is the Ozzy era and the Dio era. It's
You
hard
have
for
one
me
over
to
the
pick.
other? I'm just curious. I always ask Sabbath fans because I find it fascinating. That's all.
Yeah, it's fairly even. I mean, if I had to pick one, I might go with the Dio era slightly, just because there are a couple of the Ozzy records, particularly Never Say Die, that I really don't like. Whereas I think if Ronnie was around longer, then yeah, maybe he would have done a couple more records I didn't like. So it's not quite an even matchup, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not.
Right, Ozzy did 9 studio records, and Ronnie only did 4.
Yeah. As a casual Sabbath fan, but a hardcore Dio fan, I think Heaven and Hell might be the perfect album.
Yeah,
like I think that might be the perfect metal record if there's ever been one. That's just everything there is, and I'm not even the biggest Sabbath fan, but that freaking album is just incredible. Okay, anyway, just I wanted to ask. I thought it was interesting. So
yeah.
Very
all right, Andy, my friend, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, a couple of things. You've never mentioned books before, but I like to collect the Beatles stuff because the Beatles are my favorite band. And my wife found this book, and I thought it was pretty cool. We all know about the little golden books that we would read when we were kids. Here's a Beatles little golden book.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those recently.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
The Bee Gees, Bruce Springsteen.
Andy, finally a book you can read. That's awesome. Good job.
Really. I like it. But the music that I'm going to talk about is, it's so funny that y'all mentioned Dio, because I have been listening to Rainbow. Long live rock and roll.
Fucking Rainbow, man.
So I pull this out. This is their debut album was okay, was a little up and down, but this is just full throttle, really good stuff. His voice and Richie and just the whole band is just at full throttle on this album, and of course Rising and the In Concert, which I have over here somewhere. But
seriously,
this is what I've been listening to for the past week is Rainbow.
Is there anybody better than Dio? Honestly, is there? Like, everything that guy has done is just gold.
Everything he's touched. I mean, he just sticks to what his fans love and what he loves, and you can feel the authenticity coming out from him.
I mean, even Elf is a fun listen. Not the best, but it's fun.
Right.
Yeah, it's there. Right. Well, so what do you got, Al?
Well, since I'm working down here in Miami for the week, I figured I'd bring a book with me. So I bought Geddy Lee's book.
That's what I'm reading that too. I didn't get that.
It's a fascinating read, man. I mean, really, it's really fucking great, man. I think I'm on like chapter 6 now. The early days of Rush and the bar band, the bar days that they're just starting to really get their feet off the ground, So it's really kind of cool, like, to hear like the origins and like coming up and so and before that, Geddy talks about like his parents being in concentration camps and things like that, which is really like pretty heart wrenching. But his parents made it through, and he spoke about that in there too. So it's a great read, man. I mean, if you get a chance, pick that up and read it. As far as music, I also have. I just went to a record store here. Like, whenever I go somewhere, I always try. Like Andy, I always try to seek out a record store and check it out. So when I got down here in Miami after the first day at work, and I was like, let me check out. And there's a record store from my hotel, literally like a little over 2 miles away. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go check it out. And I didn't have this one, man. But I mean, I love King's X, but I didn't have tape on CD. So I picked it up. I have it on vinyl because they released it on Record Store Day on vinyl, so I had gotten that a few years ago.
Yeah, I have
But
that
for
too.
some reason, I didn't have the CD, so I got Tapehead, which is their 6th album, I believe. And
Is it their 6th album?
yes, it's their 6th album.
Yeah,
I think it's
you
their
might be
6th
right.
album.
You might be right. They have a million.
1998, it was released, and great album, man. It was the first album on Metal Blade Records, actually. So they had left Atlantic and they went to Metal Blade, and this is the first release on Metal Blade. And it's got some great shit. I mean, they always open up their show with Groove Machine, which is really, really a great kick-ass song. So, and I love King's X. So for some reason, I didn't have this on CD, so I was like, let me grab it. It was only like $5, so
you were close.
So that's
off the top of your head. Off the top of your head, you were close. I give you credit for that. That's really good. I said off the top of your head, you were close. It's their 7th album. Ear Candy came out first. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Was it there? So which album is it?
7.
What did I say? 6?
Yeah, you were close, man.
Oh, okay.
I give you credit. That's damn close for a band that's got like 16 albums out. That's pretty remarkable that you just threw that out there. So.
All right, so that's my pick for the week. So we can get started with the show, man. So we're gonna go again. We're gonna go same order, and we can start at 10 and work our way to 1. And Mr. Chris Elio, we'll start with you, man. Number 10, Terry Date.
Side note, Al, I thought for sure you were going Gloria Estefan with your Miami stuff. So I was just saying.
What was the name of the record store you went to?
What the hell was the name of it? It was, I think it was called In and Out Records or something like that. I think that's the name of it.
Oh, okay.
It's right in Miami, so
I've been to a couple of them there. When I went to Miami,
it's like in a little strip mall, and it's like you got to go to a second floor.
Oh, okay.
Of like a strip mall, so it's like a little tiny. He has nice. If you're into like garage and psych, kind of stuff, this guy has a killer collection of that stuff, dude.
Oh wow!
And he has everything organized very well. It's nice. It's not, sometimes you walk into a record store and just shit all over the place, man.
Yeah.
But this guy had it pretty well organized. So yeah.
All right.
So number 10, Terry Date. Terry Date is the master. Everything Terry Date did changed the game in terms of metal. His drum production, he just brought a whole new dynamic to heavy. So stands to figure that my number 10 album would be something from 2007. So there you go. It's Smashing Pumpkins Zeitgeist is the name of the album, and it's a unique album in the fact that it's only recorded, like Billy Corgan and Jimmy Chamberlain were the only two guys who did this album. Like the rest of it was basically, it was just them, and that was it. There was no one else in the band. It was their kind of return to their
roots.
Yeah, to their metal, like the heavy stuff. Like they were the only two returning band members. I'm sure there were other people on the album. I didn't really go into the meat and potatoes of it, but it's just a really heavy sounding record. It sounds a lot like, it's funny because Andy was just telling me earlier today that he was listening to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and it kind of reminds me of the heavy songs on there, the Zeros and the Bullet with Butterfly Wings and things of that nature. It's really, really top-notch record. Zeitgeist is really good.
It is a very good record. I think that was the last one that I really sat down and listened to.
I never even knew that Terry Date produced a Smashing Pumpkins album, so that's kind of interesting, man.
Clue.
I'm sure, as far as that album goes, I'm sure Billy Corgan probably recorded everything, like the bass, the guitars, and everything, besides the drums. So,
of course,
he probably did everything on that album.
Well, he did. The only thing that Jimmy Chamberlain did drums and percussion, and he also had a hand in the production as well with Terry Date. But Billy Corgan did vocals, guitar, bass guitar, keyboards, and he also helped produce. So it was like a team effort. But
yeah, all right, cool, man. All right, Chris Sallow, what do you got, brother?
All right, my pick was Martin Birch. When this topic came up, Al, there was one guy I had in mind, and in my opinion, He is the single greatest producer in the history of hard rock and heavy metal. And when I wrote my list of 10, I'm like, yeah, because
I'm not
these
gonna
are
argue that, man, because that guy has done amazing albums. So
it's unbelievable the stuff he's done. I mean, talk about a guy with the Midas touch. And I mean, I tried not to duplicate too many times, but I did a couple. But I have 7 bands on here, and I think that the 7 bands on here, they're all my particular favorite records from those bands. So my number 10 is a little bit of a cheat because I always thought he produced this record, and then when I looked it up, and I was like, oh, he actually only did the engineering and the mixing. It was self-produced, but I don't care. I'm included anyway.
That's more or less the same thing, though. That's the meat and potatoes. Come on.
Yeah, it's my all-time favorite Deep Purple record, and it's 1974's Deep Purple Burn.
God, that's a good
the first record with David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people, picking a Mark III record over a Mark II for Deep Purple sacrilege, but I don't care, man. I love this record. I have another version that I had Glenn Hughes sign for me. But man, my 2 favorite Purple songs are "Burn," the title track, and "Mistreated." I think it's an amazing record. They did fantastic at the time. They were one of the biggest bands in the world. I just watched an interview with Richie Blackmore from a couple of years ago, and he was saying, he still thinks it's a great record. He doesn't like Stormbringer, the follow-up, but he still likes the record, and I love it. I still listen to it all the time.
Richie Blackmore doesn't like a lot.
He does. Listen,
he's an angry dude.
He really is.
He's a bitter.
He really is.
He's a bitter man.
People records. There's not a lot that Richie Blackmore likes, other than Richie Blackmore.
Right.
But when he gives props to a record from decades ago, it must still be pretty good.
But David Coverdale's vocals on "Mistreated" is just, man, and he was so young at the time.
Incredible. And an unknown.
Him and Glenn Hughes, man. Him and Glenn Hughes together, holy crap.
Yeah, magic. Yeah.
Crazy.
Great album. Great pick, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a really good album. Well, I picked Bob Ezrin, and I squeezed 10 albums because he is so different all the time. And you can really hear in the albums that he does produce, because it's never always just a straight rock album. He always has to add different elements to it. But I became a Kiss fan in 2015, so I'm new to the band. So I've always heard things about The Elder, so bad. But
I love that album. Jeez,
I do like The Elder. I was new to Kiss, and I listened to it. And I had already listened to so much music by the time I heard The Elder. I said, well, this isn't bad at all. This is just a band that is just doing some experiments, a different album. Now, it did start off kind of odd. I really didn't like the Paul Stanley trying to do the Roger Daltrey thing.
I am just a boy.
Right. But this album does get stronger with time. I really think that if Ace is the one playing on this record, which I read most of the time he is, he really has a really good sound on here on his guitar, and Gene really has some really good songs on here towards the middle end. So,
well, they recorded it at his studio, did they not? At Ace's studio? Didn't they record it at his home studio?
Did they?
I believe so. Al?
No, I believe they sent Ace they sent Ace the tapes or whatever, and he would record solos for the album, but he refused to go to their studio. I think they recorded up in Canada, where Bob Ezrin was from, and Ace had a studio in Connecticut, his own home studio, and he would send his solos, I guess, to them or whatever. And back then, what is it? They fucking mail it and shit,
right? Courier,
yeah,
DHL
courier,
pulling up to your house.
Fucking UPS or FedEx the shit, So guys, it'll be there in a couple of days,
Yeah. So, well, Dark Light is my favorite, possibly my favorite Ace Frehley solo ever.
Dude, he shreds on that solo, man. Yeah. Fucking, I love that song. I wish that's a song I wish he would bring in into his live set,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, But yeah, I love the Elder too, man. It's a great pick, Andy, and I
Yeah,
love
I
the
like
sound
that
of that
record.
album. It's produced really crisp and sounds great, man.
Yeah,
And
I
I
love
know
it.
that album divides a lot of Kiss fans, but I guess me being a fan of progressive prog and all that shit, I guess Kiss taking a chance and doing that kind of, I dug it, man. You know what I mean? I kind of like when Kiss went a little left of center and did like, because I love Carnival of Souls too, and I love
Oh, I fucking love
shit
that
like
album
that.
so much.
You
Oof.
know, so
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I'll be the first person to admit, like, I definitely don't want to go down this Kiss rabbit hole again. But it was definitely the wrong album for the wrong time, especially considering
Oh, yeah.
where they had just come from. But in hindsight, it's a phenomenal record. It's
But
really,
you
really
could
good.
argue that Creatures of the Night was the right album at the right time, and it
Absolutely.
still shit the bed, which boggles my mind.
Mhm.
I guess they really did need to take the makeup off, not
That's
to
what it
bring
was.
us further down the Kiss rabbit hole. I'm
Let
always
me
like,
tell you,
how did Creatures of the Night is such a good record,
it's so good.
and Kiss always is like, what's your next record going to sound like? Oh, it's Creatures of the Night meets Destroyer.
Yep.
So it's like, but wait, how did this fail in 1982?
I've always said that Creatures is a disgustingly underrated album in the eyes of metal fans, because I think it's the perfect early 80s metal album. It ranks right up there with Heaven and Hell and Mob
I
Rules
agree,
and
for sure.
Maiden albums and stuff like that. It's such a fucking good album.
Yeah,
It's
that's
got like
my
the
favorite
first
Kiss record.
it's got like the first true power ballad on it too, which became a trend in the 80s with I
Yeah,
Still
good
Love
point.
You. Like not very many bands were doing that type of thing. So yeah.
Wow.
Cool, man. All right, well, my producer's Tom Werman. He's done quite a few different artists, mainly like Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent. Those are like the two probably main artists he did, but he did a lot of other bands as well. So my number 10, I'm going from 1984. I'm going with "Stay Hungry" by Twisted Sister.
Ooh.
Nice.
Now, I always call this album like one of the gateway albums of that a lot of kids got this album, and it was their gateway into like heavy metal. This is like I always cite about 3 albums as like the gateways into heavy metal in the early 80s. To me, it's this one, Metal Health by Quiet Riot, and Pyromania by Def Leppard. I think those 3 albums
Those are fair.
are what got
Yeah.
a lot of kids into like heavy metal, and you could throw another one that's going to be on this list. I don't know it, but I'm not going to mention its name yet. But yeah, I'm going with "Stay Hungry," which is I like the first 2 Twisted Sister albums better, but this one was still Twisted Sister. There's a lot of great deep cuts on here. You got the title track, you got "Burn in Hell," you got Captain
Horror
Howdy, you got "The
Yeah.
Price," which another power ballad. Kind of early '80s power ballad.
Dude,
so,
and I had the luxury of working for D. Snyder for a year and a half, and I got to see him play live in the late 2000s. And that dude's voice, they did "The Price," and he still fucking wails, man. That guy's he never quits, and his voice killed back then. I used to compare them to Quiet Riot all the time, because to me, Kevin DuBrow was a low-ranked D. Snyder. That's what he was. D. Snyder's voice, one of the best singers of the 80s. That guy is so massively underrated as a singer. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, and "The Price" is a perfect example of how good he is.
Oh yeah.
Really. Yeah, Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister, man, it's like they're almost like kind of parallel, like from one's from the West Coast, one's from the East Coast, but their careers are almost parallel, because they had the big huge album and then they fucking dropped off the cliff, man. Both of them really.
But the Twisted Sister reunion did amazing, and when Quiet Riot reunited in '97, I saw them in a club by my house, and so while they both had the same time, man, the Twisted, maybe it was the timing, but I mean, I saw them at the Wacken Open Air in Germany in front of 50,000 people headlining. So I mean, their reunion was pretty massive.
I mean, I think when I was working for him, it was right after that happened, and they put out the Christmas album, and that's when it became like they were like playing all over the place. It was crazy. Yeah. And I think the difference between Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister in terms of longevity is that I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here, but D. Snyder's kind of a whore, and he was everywhere. He became the face of hair metal. So I think that's ultimately why Twisted Sister had way more longevity than Quiet Riot. Plus, didn't Kevin DuBrow die like in the late 90s or early 2000s? Like,
Yeah,
Kevin
cocaine
DuBrow?
overdose.
Right.
yeah, he died.
I think it was like 2007 he died.
Oh, was it that late? Okay, I thought it was earlier than that. So
Yeah, because I saw Quiet Riot in the club in New Jersey called Starland Ballroom.
yeah.
And like that year, and then literally like 6 months later he passed. So I saw I saw him not too long before Kevin DuBrow passed away. You know, and that wasn't the original band anymore, but it was still him and Frankie Banali.
Yeah, of course.
And but I saw
Frankie
the original
Banali.
band before that. You know, when they first reunited, like Chris
Yeah.
Allen was saying
Was
in the
it,
late
it was
90s.
97, Al? I'm not sure. But it seemed like everybody reunited in 1997.
No, it was like the late 90s.
Yeah,
And I think the guy who got them to reunite was Marilyn Manson. I think he wanted them at a party or something like that, man.
Wow.
He wanted them to play at a party. He got one of the original band, well, the classic, the Metal Health ones,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So, that's how they got back together, the original, the classic lineup or whatever. So it was Marilyn Manson that kind of brought them together and shit. So,
Interesting. Yeah, that was the only time I ever saw them was that one time in the classic reunion, and then that was it.
Wow,
Yeah.
man, that's crazy. I didn't know that either. It's neat.
all right, man. So who's up next here?
I believe that would be me.
Yeah.
So I started in 2007 with Terry D, and now I'm gonna go all the way back to the early days of metal, 1984. It probably is one of his very first albums. I was caught between two of them, but I'm gonna go with the self-titled Metal Church album.
Oh,
The
wow.
first,
nice.
the first Metal Church. He did that one, and he also did the Dark. I prefer the first album more personally.
Sure.
But they're both great albums, and you can hear it early. It's interesting that even in 1984, like you can hear the thundering drums, and even though they weren't dealing with like Pantera levels like of strength or whatever, you can still hear the beginnings of where he was going to go eventually. But yeah, Metal Church is one of the most overlooked, unsung early metal bands of the 80s.
Right.
And the first album is just killer. It's just a killer album. It's well produced. It's very crisp sounding, good vocals, but again, Terry Date with the drums. Like that's like the main thing. And being a de facto fake wannabe drummer, because I am a singer first. And that's all singers want to be drummers. That's always the way. I'm just in love with the sound. So Metal Church, first album.
Great pick, man.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
And Metal Church, they are fucking underrated, dude. No,
Hell yeah, big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw them again last year, and they have the new singer who's I can't think of. Mark is his name. He's from Ross the Boss's Manowar cover band, but man, they were phenomenal.
Oh, cool, man.
I think I've seen Metal Church with 4 different singers now.
Yeah, I don't even know. I've lost track of them. I like their early stuff, and then I kind of lost track of them. But like to me, like there are a bunch of those bands. Like Metal Church is one of them. Opposite end of the spectrum in thrash, like Death Angel, like massively overlooked for whatever reason. I think it's because of everything that came after them. So like Metal Church gets overlooked because like Maiden kept going, and they were kind of in that vein and whatever. And then like even in like hair metal, like Kingdom Come is another one. Like it's like for whatever reason they were never talked about, even though they played Monsters of Rock and like. But it didn't matter. Like Kingdom Come never was on MTV that much, and whatever. It just weird. I don't know. I find it weird. These bands, they're like my grouping of bands in my autistic brain.
All right, cool, man. Chris Allen, what do you got, brother?
Yep. All right. Yeah. We gotta move this stuff along, right? There's another like 40 choices. We gotta go.
I know, man.
Number
Yeah,
9.
I'm gonna stop talking. So there you go.
Whitesnake
It's all
Live
me.
in
I
the Heart
blame
of
me.
City. This is second album in a row with David Coverdale. They were a blues-based hard rock band in the late 70s and early 80s. This is the double disc. That's the Live at Hammersmith Odeon, produced by Martin Birch, and it's got some of their earlier stuff like Trouble and Sweet Talker and Love Hunter. it's like the greatest hits of their pre-slide it in 1987 stuff. And yeah, I think it's a great live record.
Who plays the drums on that? Isn't that some Deep Purple guys are in
Yes,
there? Too?
I believe
Right?
I believe it's John Lord, if I'm
Oh,
not mistaken.
John Lord's on keyboards on that one.
I'm sorry, Ian Pace on drum.
Ian
Yeah,
Pace.
John Lord on keyboards. Yeah,
Oh well, it's just that both of them slide in and out. Slide
yeah, literally, yeah.
in. I really
Well,
didn't-
Whitesnake. It's funny because Whitesnake's kind of like Deep Purple in that sense that they always had different people. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
All right, Andy.
One by Bob Ezra. My number 9. It's gonna be a solo album. It's the second solo album by the great David Gilmour. About Face is my number 9. I really like his solo stuff. He really keeps the Pink Floyd spirit alive. So my number 9 is David Gilmour's About Face.
All right, cool. All right, my number 9, Tom Werman produced album. I'm going with Cheap Tricks in Color.
Oh, love that album.
Second album by them. First one that Tom Werman produced, and great album, man. I mean, Southern Girls, Big Eyes, Down. Cheap Trick is one of my favorite bands ever, and I've seen them live. Besides Rush, I've probably seen them live like the most, you know, and they never disappoint me live, man. Always going back to the '80s since I started seeing them. So yeah, it's gonna be number 9, Cheap Tricks in Color.
That's the album that opens with Hello There, right?
Elio.
That's the album that opens with Hello There, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello There.
That's I opened all my DJ shows with that. I love that. Love that song so much. My number 8 from the Terry Date list here is arguably the birth of grunge as we know it, and that would be Mother Love Bone, Apple.
Oh wow.
A lot of people don't know that he produced that, but yeah,
I didn't know that either.
I had no clue.
Yep. So I won't elaborate much further. It's just it's basically what went on to become Temple of the Dog is Mother Love Bone. They all came out of this amalgamation collective before collective was a thing to do, and Apple was the first and only true Mother Love Bone album. So.
Well, I never heard
man, I like Mother
that much, but when I looked them up, I looked at the list, and now that you're mentioning them, I mean, you're already talked about a couple of albums that I love, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I really
it's a good one, man.
More into them.
All right, Chris Allo, man, number 8, brother.
Number 8, probably the band on here that I like the least of all these other bands. I've only seen them a couple times, but this is my favorite album from this band. But I couldn't find the CD. I have it somewhere, but I have too much shit to look through. Blue Oyster Cult, Fire of Unknown Origin from 1981. This is by far my favorite BOC record. It's got heavy metal, The Pact. The big hit was Burning for You. I just think it's a great record, and that's my favorite BOC record.
Yeah, that was one of my big hit albums.
Yeah, Buck Dahmer's an interesting dude. I just recently I was watching something on YouTube. It was like a retro 80s thing, and I saw the video for the song We're Stars. Remember that, the hearing aid thing?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And pick out the guy that doesn't fit in that particular video. It's Buck Dahmer. And he's fantastic. He belongs there.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't look right. Like it's weird. Like here's this dude with this mustache. He's like, yeah, what? All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Number 8.
Number 8. I don't have a physical copy with me right now. It's somewhere in this room. I couldn't find it before we started. But we all know that Bob Ezrin did a lot of work with Alice Cooper. Most of his classic period. I'm going to go with Welcome to My Nightmare. The one from 75, I believe. You know, that's another album where Bob Ezrin doesn't play it safe at all. You know, that's a weird album, especially for Alice Cooper, because Alice Cooper was at that time doing your straight up hard rock albums, and then this came in, and it's pretty playful. Welcome to My Nightmare. So that's why I'm going to go with my number 8.
All right, cool, man. All right, so my number 8 on my Tom Werman list. I'm going with Striper Against the Law, released in 1990. Striper at this time, they kind of dropped the whole kind of religious thing with this album. Kind of went for a straight ahead hard rock, and Tom Werman produced this. And actually, revisiting this, man, I listened to it, man, and I think it's a great album, man.
Fantastic.
They kind of, they think it's an excellent album. They kind of dropped the whole like kind of costumes and just went for like a leather look, and again, like not really a religious. They dropped the whole kind of religious thing and just kind of went for a straight ahead like hard rock album, like lyrically, and there's times, man, where they're almost kind of channeling like Van Halen, like like they're definitely influenced by them and stuff.
Well,
so.
even more than that, like Caught in the Middle is one of my favorite songs of like that era. It's the only Striper album I can listen to without cringing now because it's not Christy at all. And Caught in the Middle is like borderline power metal song. It's fucking killer. That album is so damn good, man. Great pick. That's a great pick.
So that's my number 8, Against the Law, man. Released 1990 by Striper. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh shit. I'm used to having time. Let me see. Well, where's okay, yeah. Number 7. What year is this from? I don't even know. Jesus, I'm so unprepared. But it's more of it's a more current and it's metalcore or metalcore. It's more like mathcore, progressive metal, mathcore. It's Fall of Troy. What is the album? In the Unlikely Event, 2009 it came out. And this one is weird because it doesn't really feature the typical Terry Date type production values in terms of the like just punchy drums. It's more it's got some good breakdowns that feature the punchy drums, but for the most part it's just really crisp. It's got because if you've ever listened to mathcore, especially the progressive mathcore stuff, it's got to be very clean. And what's interesting about Fall of Troy is that they're not very clean. So it's probably the most well-produced Fall of Troy album out of the whole catalog. And I fucking love that band. But like this album is like hands down like my favorite Fall of Troy album. So In the Unlikely Event by Fall of Troy.
All right, cool, man. Number 7, Chris Hallow.
Number 7. This is the only record that Martin Birch produced for this artist. And again, this is my favorite record from this band, and it's the Michael Schenker Group. This is the box set that's in here. This is the 1982 record, Assault Attack, which I think is just phenomenal. I'm a huge Graham Bonnet fan. I love his stuff with Rainbow and Alcatraz and everything else he's done. And man, I think Graham Bonnet's voice with Michael Schenker's guitar is just magic. And I was thrilled in 2018 and 2019 to finally be able to see Graham Bonnet with Michael Schenker as part of the Michael Schenker Fest. But this is the only MSG record that Graham Bonnet's on, with songs like Assault Attack and Samurai and Desert Song. Man, I just think it's my favorite MSG record.
It's a really good record.
Kick ass, man.
Yeah, I got that somewhere again. I would have pulled it out for y'all. But my number 7 is I'm going to go with another Cooper one. I got this one on cassette. School's Out. Again, a very odd album. It could have been higher, but it kind of loses me on the inner side too. They kind of go a little way off for me, a little bit too much to whatever they were trying to do. Because side 1 is just a great classic hard rock album, and then they kind of tail off at the end of side 2. So that's why it's at number 7. All right, go ahead, Al.
All right, man. Number 6 on the Tom Werman list here. From 1988, I'm going with Blow My Fuse by Kix.
Nice. I love that record.
Yeah,
it's a great record, man. I love the sound of it. I love the songwriting on it. I mean, they got, you got the title track, you got Red Light, Green Light. There's another power ballad, Don't Close Your Eyes, was probably the biggest hit they ever had. I love the Cold Blood, Piece of the Pie. A lot of great songs on there, like them really kind of channeling AC/DC almost kind of on the album with the kind of AC/DC-ish sound. But It's probably my favorite Kicks album, by them. I do love Midnight Dynamite, the album before this one too. But this one, man, the sound in this one, man, Tom Werman got the guitars sound awesome, and the bottom end, everything, man. So I played the shit out of this album when it came out. So that's gonna be my number 6, man. Blow My Fuse by Kicks, or number 7, sorry.
7, yeah.
So now we're
Definitely
gonna go to
is
number
the
6, Mr.
Yeah.
Chris Elio.
We're up to my number 6, which is a fucking oddball album if there's ever been one. 1993, Fishbone, Give a Monkey a Brain and He'll Swear He's the Center of the Universe. It's their 4th album. It's the first album. Of course, it's a Terry Day produced album. So it's the first album in which the band focused on heavy metal without any trace of like horns or ska influence or anything until like the 4th or 5th song, something like that. And it is a very crazy, if you know anything about Fishbone, obviously it's crazy to begin with, but they got way crazy in the mid 90s and it all started here. They have metal, you have ska, you have downright pop songs on here, like the production on this album is just top notch. It's just so fucking good and tight. And again, the punchy drums, I can't say it enough about like the Terry Date thing where it's like all about the drums, man. To me, it's all about the bottom end. And it's weird for me being a singer for that to be so important to me. But I grew up in the 90s and this is where it was for me. So give a monkey a brain and he'll swear he's the center of the universe. I do. And I am a monkey. So there you go. Fishbone.
It's always a party when you throw them on. It's always a party.
Fishbone fucking rules.
Such a fun band.
All right, Chris Allo, man.
All right, my number 6. Again, not to repeat myself, but I do like this band a lot, and this is my all-time favorite record from this particular band. It's 1984's Whitesnake. Slide It In. This is the British version. I picked this up when I went to England to see Black Sabbath in the early 90s. This is the 25th anniversary edition, and I think this is what the 40th anniversary edition box set that came out, I don't know, a year ago or whatever. But with songs like Slide It In and Love Ain't No Stranger, Slow and Easy, man, this is just great stuff. I always, a lot of people love the 87 record. I always thought that was a big letdown from Slide It In. But I just think this record just kills. I wish they would have stayed a little closer to that formula after that. But it's my favorite Whitesnake record.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, dude. That's my favorite Whitesnake album. I remember that's my introduction to Whitesnake. Seeing those videos on MTV with John Sykes, and I know he came in and overdubbed his parts on the American version.
Right, Moody and it was Mickey Moody, I think, right? That did, or was it Marsden? I forget. Yeah,
but I mean, it kicked ass, man. I loved it, and then I do like the '87 record. But if I'm gonna,
I do too. But to me, it's definitely a step down from. To me, Slide It In was their peak.
Yeah, I agree. Slide It In, man, is my favorite. So that's a great pick, brother. And Martin Birch, man, again.
I mean, holy Christ, just knocking it out of the park, one after the other.
Yeah, beautiful, man. All right, man. Andy, my brother, go ahead.
Of course, I was introduced to Whitesnake in '87, so that was my favorite album for a while until I heard Slide It In. It was
goddamn
completely better.
Cozy Powell played on that album too. That's crazy.
Yep.
Oh,
it's half of Black Sabbath. It's Neil Murray and crazy. Cozy Powell.
Oh, because I was wondering, because I know Ainsley Dunbar played on the '87 album, and he's one of my favorite drummers, but I didn't know where he started with Whitesnake, so I was just looking that up. And it's Cozy Powell. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Bob Ezrin, like I said, worked with Alice Cooper quite a bit, so I'm going to stick to Alice Cooper for another one back to back. $1 Billion Babies by Cooper.
Great
really good album, man.
Nice.
Their last one, I believe, their last one with the original group, and so they went to Alice Cooper and different people played on it, and not the original band. But man, great stuff on this one. It's a really good album. It's one of my favorites by them.
All right, man. So my number 6 on the Tom Werman list, going to 1976, I'm going with "Free for All" by Ted Nugent.
Oh,
His second solo, quote unquote, solo album, because he had a career with Amboy Dukes and a bunch of albums before then. But this was his second proper solo album, and introduced the world to Meatloaf. Man, Meatloaf sang on like half this album, and I think it kicked ass on the album. His vocals are awesome, and Derek St. Holmes sings the other half. I don't know, there was something going on between Ted and Derek St. Holmes at that time, bit of friction. So he brought in Meatloaf and did like half the album with him, man. And I gotta tell you, man, it's fucking great Nugent album, man. I mean, the title track, you got Dog Eat Dog, you got Turn It Up, man, great song. Street Rats, Hammer Down. I mean, it just kicks ass. It's like, I mean, that era of Ted, man, he was like unstoppable, man. He just was fucking firing on all cylinders, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, Free for All by Ted Nugent, 1976, is my number 6. We're gonna go to number 5, man. Chris Elio.
Now,
mean,
I don't,
Stars in '76. I mean, that dude was it.
well, I don't love Ted Nugent at all. Like, I don't like him at all. And it's not even like, I know whenever I say this on the BS sessions or whatever, and Mark's like, well, can we just forget about his political stuff? No, I never liked Ted Nugent, like ever. But I will say, awesome trivia stuff about the Meatloaf being on that album. That reminds me a lot of like David Bowie's Let's Dance album. Like, who played guitar on Let's Dance? Like, introduced everybody to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like, that's so you gotta give Teddy Boy credit for that shit. Like, yeah, I don't give him credit for a lot, but I'll give him credit for that. All right, my number 5 is it was a toss up. I didn't want to do doubles at all either. I agree with Chris Allo on that one. So it was either going to be between their first or their second album. I went with the Deftones' second album, Around the Fur.
Nice.
To me, the first 2 Deftones albums are like seminal nu metal albums. And the only reason I like Around the Fur better than Adrenaline is that Adrenaline is not as well produced as Around the Fur. Around the Fur it's way punchier. It's got more of their signature songs like what's the fucking song? Be Quiet and Drive Far Away, My Own Summer, Shove It, things like that. But this was the album that took Deftones to like a whole nother level, and it's just phenomenal. It's got so many good songs on it. That album kicks ass.
All right, cool, man.
All right.
Chris Allo.
Yep, my number 5. I mean, I could have literally done the whole top 10 off of just this one band, but I limited it to only 2 records from this band, and it's tough which one I like better. But at number 5, Iron Maiden, Power Slave. I have multiple copies. This one I never even opened, but man, with Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Power Slave, and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. All of which they continue after, God, almost 40 years. They still play, a lot of those songs in their set. It's just an incredible record. It was the first new Iron Maiden record that I got as a kid, when it was the current record. And I've just always loved it.
No, it's crazy, man. That's like early prog metal at its like,
yeah,
like
sure.
It's almost like, like Al was saying before, gateway albums. Power Slave, if you want to ease someone into prog metal a la Dream Theater or Opeth or Haken or whatever you want to pick, like Power Slave is the easiest way to ease someone into that type of thing. That or like maybe Rust in Peace by Megadeth if you wanted to go a little heavier, or Master of Puppets. But yeah, Power Slave is one of those like absolutely one of those progressive, like it's the progression of progressive metal as we know it today. So great pick. Fucking love that album so much.
And Martin Birch, man, he really became like the 6th member of Maiden.
Yeah, I mean he worked more with Iron Maiden than anybody else.
Yeah, great pick, man. I love that album too, man.
Yeah, it's a really good album. It is.
Yeah.
All right, man. Go ahead, brother Andy.
Yeah, my number 5 by Bob Ezrin is an album that's divided a lot of Pink Floyd fans. But when it came out in 1994, I immediately loved it. I'm talking about Division Bell.
Oh,
By that, it's a really good album. The songwriting is strong by Gilmore and by his girlfriend / fiance or wife or whatever she is now. Polly Sampson, and really good orchestra work by Michael Kamen, and the guitar work by Gilmore shines through. So that's my number 5 is the Division Bell by Pink Floyd, produced
All
by
right.
Bob Ezrin.
All right, my number 5 on the Tom Werman list here, going back to 1978, another Cheap Trick album, Heaven Tonight. Starts off with Surrender, arguably one of their biggest hits. On Top of the World, California Man, High Roller. I mean, it's just Auf Wiedersehen, which is arguably like one of their heaviest songs ever. You got the title track, Stiff Competition. I mean, it's just a killer album, top to bottom. Again, from one of my favorite bands of all time, Cheap Trick. So I'm gonna go with Heaven Tonight by Cheap Trick, number 5, man.
Does that have the song "Gonna Raise Hell"? Or is that
No.
another album?
No,
No, it's not on that one. Okay.
no.
Cheap Trick, power pop at its finest.
Hell yeah.
Love that shit.
Number 4, man, Chris Elio.
Number 4, I wish that I could talk about the album before this one, but I think it stands as a testament to Terry Date, the producer, to take White Zombie from in my opinion, seminal, very important groove metal band that often gets overlooked as being an important staple in the groove metal subgenre. Because he did their second album, which was Astro Creep 2000, and basically took them from being this groove metal outfit to this groove metal plus industrial outfit, crisped them up, made them sound even heavier than they were on their first album. And despite the fact that I hate all the music that Rob Zombie produces now, and it all kind of sounds like it's all derivative, it's all derivative of this album. This album is great. So the first one of this derivative sound that has gone on for 25 years is really, really good. And that's Astro Creep 2000 by White Zombie. It's everything you want from a 2000, like from a late 90s, early 2000s metal album. It's heavy. It's got groove. You don't know what the hell the guy's saying. It's great. But aesthetically, it's wonderful. But like, yeah, the production on this, it just stepped it up. If you listen to like Las Exorcisto, which is their first album, which is wonderful. I love it. But if it had this production, it would be blistering. Like it would be bludgeoning an album is what it would be. So.
All right. Cool,
Yeah.
man.
I love that era of White Zombie, the earlier stuff. Wasn't Make Them Die Slowly? Wasn't that their first record?
That was their first. It was like an EP. I don't think it was like a full record.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, their first like official release is Las Exorcisto.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think the White Zombie stuff way more than the Rob Zombie solo stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I kind of wish like they would have stayed together, but
I mean, it's a shame he was banging the bass player because that's what's preventing a reunion of ever happening.
Right. And he completely ignores it too, which is sad because like his shows are great. I've met and hung out with Rob Zombie on multiple occasions. From when I was working on Fangoria Radio, he was on there a lot. And great guy. His wife is awesome. He's awesome. His shows are great. I can't listen to his solo stuff. Like it's just okay, great to see live, but like otherwise, it's just big yuck from me. So,
all right, Chris Allo, man, number 4.
My number 4. It hurts me to put this at number 4, but I mean that just shows how legendary the albums that Martin Birch worked on. I mean, 1982's Number of the Beast from Iron Maiden. I mean, Bruce Dickinson's Introduction to the World. I mean, God, with Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, 22 Acacia Avenue. I mean, Hallowed Be Thy Name. I mean, God, this is Maiden's biggest record. It's, it was a staple in 1982, put them on the map. And again, another Martin Birch production.
I prefer Power Slave, but yes, very, very good.
I mean, for me, it's close. I mean, to me, that whole trilogy is great, except like there's 2 songs I fucking hate on Peace of Mind. I hate that Sun and Steel, and I hate that When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth song. I fucking hate it. So I'm like, okay, so to me, of those 3, I always put Peace of Mind on the bottom.
I do too. because Number of the Beast will always be my favorite by them, no matter what they do in the future.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
just so good. Just
That's
so
the
good.
first. That's the first Iron Maiden album that I ever heard. My older brother had the cassette
yeah.
and A Number of the Beast, and I remember when I heard it, man, I was hooked, man. I loved
Yeah.
Iron Maiden.
And when you mention gateways, I mean this truly is like most people's gateway into Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome pick, brother.
Nice one. My number 4 is going to be, I'm going back to the Alice Cooper era, of course. I think, do I? No, I don't. This album,
He's talking to himself, folks.
right? Yeah, this album he actually didn't produce, but he co-produced. I had asked Al if it was okay. He said okay. So,
The judge
Get Your Wings by Aerosmith. This was one of his earlier works, and this was just a straight ahead, no holds barred, great Aerosmith album. This was their second album, I believe, right after their debut. This was completely different from their debut album. They kind of really got their heavy Rolling Stone swagger on this one here. So Get Your Wings by Aerosmith.
Yeah. He could co-produce that with Jack Douglas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think Jack Douglas was like his kind of like he took Jack Douglas under his wing, and then for a while, and then Jack Douglas went out on his own. But yeah, I remember him and Jack Douglas were like kind of they were a team together for a little while. So yeah, that's a great pick though, man.
Yeah,
that's the first. That's the first Aerosmith album I ever had on vinyl, man. It was that one. It was the first one, man. So great one. So I'm my number 4 on the Tom Worman list here, going to 1983. And when we were talking about Gateway albums before, this is definitely another one of those, man. It's Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. Arguably their greatest album. It's my favorite Crue album, actually. Some people go to their debut. Some people go to this one. I happen to like this one more than their debut. I think it's their best sounding album. Although I do love the 1994 Karabi album.
I was just going to say that I love Shout the Devil and the Karabi record. Rest of Motley Crue, I could.
I personally love Theater of Pain too, but
I go first 3 albums. I do like some of Theater of Pain as well. After that, I could care less about them until the Karabi album. And then, like after that, I couldn't care less. But
yeah, it's old track.
But Shout the Devil, man, top to bottom, is arguably like their heaviest album, and it just kicks ass. And Tom Worman has gone on record saying that they were a hard band to produce.
No, really?
You think
Motley Crue?
Yeah, I heard that Full in Bloom interview with Tom Worman talking about all the Motley Crue shenanigans. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I heard that interview too, man. That's a real good one, man.
That's a good one.
And
yeah.
Tom Worman's been making the rounds again because I think he has a book out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Where he's been.
So, I mean, he was doing a whole slew of interviews like a few months ago when his book came out. So, and I heard a lot of them, man. He's had an interesting career. I think he retired and he had opened up a bed and breakfast, and then I think he just closed that down. And now he's just completely retired. So, but he, the Child of the Devil album, man, it's killer.
True.
If I'm gonna reach for a Crue album nowadays, that's really the only one. That one and the Karabi album are the ones I listen to, and that's really
same. Those are the only two. And as a kid, man, I fucking hated when Theater Pain came out and the 4 of them looked like girls.
Yeah, they went
all I was like,
purple
come
and
on,
pink.
man.
Yeah.
Like you had this cool like Mad Max Road Warrior kind of look.
Yeah.
Now you look like literally a bunch of girls.
I love that album. I love Theater of Pain. Such a good album.
Yeah,
I mean,
love the album.
I'm just saying the look of the band. I
definitely.
It.
Well, I do a lot of hair metal on my channel, and one of the biggest discussions I have constantly, I did a video a while, like 2 years ago, about top five mislabeled hair metal bands. And to me, that's half correct for Motley Crue. They're like half a hair metal band, and they're half not. Like Shout at the Devil is not a hair metal album. I don't give a damn what anybody says. That shit is way too heavy, way too dark. They really dove into like the 70s Kiss feel visually, and then musically they were heavy. That was a heavy album, man. I don't.
And it's
Crazy.
a good 2 or 3 years before hair metal even came around. So that
Uh,
was before that.
I mean, it was around that time. I don't blame people for putting them in that category, but
'Cause that was what, 83?
Yeah.
Shout
Shout Out the Devil was 84,
Yes,
84,
80,
83.
83, yeah.
they were.
83,
It's 83.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my number 4, man. So number 3, Chris Elio. Let's go, brother.
All right. My number 3 album is hands down, without question, the most underrated, unsung, untalked about metal album of the 90s. And that is 1994's Prong Cleansing.
Ooh.
What a fucking monster record this is on all fronts. The production, the songs, the groove. I mean, I don't like literally zero other Prong albums except for this one. That's how good it is. Like, it's one of those outliers. And whenever I talk about 90s metal, there are 2 albums that come up, and this is one of them that I will always stand by and say more people need to be hearing this album. It is as good as any Pantera groove metal album there's ever been. It fucking rips. It is just so good. Prong Cleansing, 1994. Just tremendous album. Get it.
Cool, man. All right, Chris Allen.
1976. I feel weird putting it at number 3. This is definitely considered the band's masterpiece and their best lineup. 1976, Rainbow Rising. Bob Daisley, Richie Blackmore, Ronnie James Dio, and Cozy Powell. I mean, there's only 6 songs on here, but they are 6 fucking masterpieces. Especially with side 2, Stargazer and A Light in the Black. The two. I think the 2 best songs the band ever did. It's fantastic. This is the British Digipack, which has 3 different versions of the same record, all different mixes. But man, this record just smokes, and all these years later, people still talk about how great of a record it is.
Honestly, there is no more magical a moment in all of rock history than when Ronnie James Dio sang the words, "There's a rainbow rising." It gives me chills every goddamn time I hear it. It's insane. Like I can't, and of course the 4 of us are sitting here because music has touched us in such a way that it's probably most people can't identify with. But that's one of those things that every time I hear, it's an 8-minute song, and it's literally in the closing fading moments of the song, and it's the highlight of it. It makes everything. Like, it's incredible. It's just so incredible. I can't talk about it more than that. Like, that fucking song, that album, just incredible. Great pick, man. That's an awesome pick.
It's just a masterpiece, man. Like you said, Chris.
It just doesn't get any better.
And I just want to touch on something, and it's something that plagues me as well. And I know Chris Allen, we call it the collector's curse. We have to have all the different fucking versions of albums.
That's true.
You're both broke for a reason.
It's insane, man. Like, when it comes to Rush and like Sabbath and shit
that,
it's like I don't know how many copies of Paranoid I have, but it's like
same for sure. I just bought it again.
Man.
I just got the quad mix on Blu-ray.
There you go.
I already had 2 versions of the quad mix, which was down mixed to just 2-channel stereo. So when they finally did a Blu-ray of the 4-channel quad mix, I'm like, oh, I gotta have it.
It doesn't. It sounds no different, but I gotta have it.
Listen, I still haven't even opened it up and listened to it, but I got it.
I just bought another copy of Rush Hemispheres, and it was the vinyl was scratched to shit, but it had a really nice, clean copy of the poster. So I bought it.
I've done that before.
The curse of the collector, man. All right, Andy, man, let's go. Number 3, man.
Okay, yeah. Now this is when the Last Cooper for me comes in. Really good one. Killers.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know that album. I don't even know that album.
Oh, dude, it's great. In fact, I think it's his best album, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got Desperado, right? And Halo of Flies.
Oh, okay. Oh, I do know some of those, yeah.
Being My Lover, Under My Wheel.
Yeah.
I'm not a Cooper.
Side 1.
Yeah, I'm not a Cooper fan, so I don't think I've ever listened to an album.
And then it's got Dead Babies, and it ends with Killer.
Okay.
Killer's a good 7 minutes of just a really hard rock, even going towards metal, which something that Alice Cooper never really did.
True.
Because Cooper is always just rock and roll or hard rock, but at the end of this album, they did delve into some metal on there. So Killer, Really good album by them.
I'll have to check that out.
That's a great one.
All right, man. My number 3 on the Tom Werman list here, going to 1984. I'm going with Dokken's second album, Tooth and Nail.
Oh,
Um,
so good.
I
Great
know,
record, yeah.
I know they have one before this, Breaking the Chains, but to me, Tooth and Nail is George Lynch fucking unleashed on
Yeah.
this album. His guitar tone is like second to none. He kicks so much ass in this album, and Tom Werman produced this one, and it's the only one that Tom Werman produced by Dokken. And again, man, it's just every song on here, I love it, man. I'm not gonna go through the songs. I'm sure a lot of people know it, but damn, man, fucking Tooth and Nail. I remember hearing that in 1984, man. After, with my Van Halen albums and all that shit. And here comes Dokken, man, George Lynch. I'm like, holy shit, man, who the hell is this guy? Just shredding up a fucking storm, dude.
And his
Love it,
Parrot
man.
Head.
And again, like an early power ballad, Alone Again.
I love
Yeah,
that song.
it's a great track.
Yeah.
Great track,
I
man.
got the 45 to that still.
You know what happens? Like that album suffers from this, and it's a great album, so I'm not shitting on it. But like there are certain songs like "It's Not Love" and "Just Got Lucky." It's Not Love, Just Got Lucky, and what's the other? No, It's Not Love is on Under Lock and Key, correct? Or is
When
that Tooth
Heaven
and Nail?
Comes Down, Into the Fire is on
Into
this
the
one.
Fire. I'm sorry. Into the Fire and Just Got
Yeah.
Lucky are the two songs I'm thinking of that are so much better on the live versions that I never listened to them on Tooth and Nail. And that's like my only knock on that record. The album's fucking killer.
Oh,
But
Beast from the East is a fucking killer live album.
Yeah, those two songs on that album on the live recordings are so much better. And like, Kiss had the same problem with the first album. I love the first Kiss album because the songs are all classic, but the live one versions of all those songs are a million times better because Eddie Kramer produced them, and that's who I was gonna pick besides Terry Date. So there you go.
I always thought it was weird too, right? How that record, Al, there's like different artwork from the cassette to the album.
Yes.
Yes.
And I forget. I don't even know what's on the CD. I don't know.
One is like the hand forward, and then the other one's like the side or some shit, right?
Right. Like I had the cassette, and it's like
that's
two
right.
lines
It's got
for
the
hands.
hands,
But then like the album, right? That's like the Creature from the Black Lagoon hand, like coming out
it's
of
blue.
the
It's blue, and it's got the hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
sweet,
pretty
man.
killer. Pretty killer.
I always thought that was weird. Similar to
Yeah.
Shout at the Devil, right?
There you go.
Different,
He's got it right there.
different.
There you go.
There you go.
Came up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally
Yeah,
the paw
and
from the Creature from Black Lagoon. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Great album, though, man. That's my number 3.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
number 2, Chris Elio. Let's go, brother.
All right, going back to the origins of grunge, but this is definitely a metal album. It is Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger.
Yes.
Just
Great one.
there's not a lot that needs to be said about this, but it is. You were talking about the coming out party, and I was deliberating between this one and he also Terry Date also produced Louder Than Love, which was their first album, and Chris Cornell like sounds amazing on Louder Than Love, but my God, the coming out party on Bad Motorfinger with Slaves and Bulldozers and Outshined and Jesus Christ Pose and holy shit, like just one bombastic song after another, and then Cornell's voice just soaring over all of that, man. Just if they would have stayed that metal, I don't know, man. Like I don't know if it would have changed their career. They definitely wouldn't have been as popular as they became after Super Unknown, but I wish they would have stayed that way because that album, I love Super Unknown. I love everything Soundgarden did after, but my God, that album is just perfection.
It's
just,
really relentless. It never stops.
It never stops.
It just goes at you. Oh, I mean, it is just a great album.
Fantastic.
I remember when that album came out, and I bought the CD, and I remember there was 2 different versions of CD you can get. You can get the regular CD, and then there was a double. There was one with a bonus disc, and I remember they redid Into the Void on there, but they
changed
put different lyrics to it.
different lyrics.
They took a poem from like an Indian chief,
Yes.
and they put that to Into the Void, which I found very interesting.
Yeah.
And it was a great cover of it, though, man. I thought it was awesome. So
Yeah, I have a 12-inch of that somewhere.
yeah,
I think I have a CD single.
good choice, Chris Elio. Chris Allo, number 2.
All right, my number 2. I'm almost embarrassed that I didn't bring one with me because I thought I had one in my house here. I probably have like 10 copies of it. Chris mentioned it earlier. Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell from 1980. I don't know what more needs to be said about the first Sabbath record with Ronnie James Dio, but they completely shit the bed previously with Never Say Die, and Ronnie James Dio joining the band completely revitalized them. And with songs like the title track, Children of the Sea, Die Young, my personal favorite song on the track, a track they never ever played live, Wishing Well. It's an amazing record, and it's one of those records that, as big as it was back then and as big as the tour was, it seems like now it is like, people are like, younger people as well are really turned on to this record. And I think it's just a phenomenal album that, really has stood the test of time.
Dude, they played Heaven and Hell in going to a commercial break during one of the NFL games.
I heard that. I was like, wow, how fucking crazy is that?
I thought it was dope.
Yeah. Listen, I heard Heaven and Hell recently on the local radio station during the day.
That's crazy.
Like, wow, is this Bizarro Land or what?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's something.
I didn't catch that. Huh.
It's something that you didn't hear back in the day a lot, man. Like,
no doubt.
Now, that album has really grown in stature, man. It's
yes.
Like a lot of people really discovered it. And I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, when I was younger, I was all about the Ozzy era. I really didn't want to hear about anything else by Sabbath. And then, actually, first post Ozzy I got into was actually Born Again, the Ian Gillan record, which is my favorite. It's still my favorite non-Ozzy era album. But then, you can't fucking deny Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Like, those Dio albums is so good, man. I mean, it's just killer, man. I love it. But I mean, that album is just perfect from top to bottom, in my opinion. So
yeah, agreed.
And Martin Birch, man, that production,
yeah,
dude, so great pick. Man.
Iommi's guitar is like, Iommi's guitar is flawless on that record.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah,
the sound is just like I just hear the opening riff of like "Lonely Is the Word," and it's just that guitar tone is just impeccable.
And it's a shame Ronnie died, because they had plans. Their next tour, they were going to play the whole record from start to finish.
I saw one of his last shows in San Francisco, and
nice, yeah,
it was so good. Yeah, I actually, it was weird because I was going. I'm a huge Coheed and Cambria fan, and Coheed and Cambria was opening for them. So I actually went to go see Coheed and Cambria. Like, I wasn't even interested, and I'm a huge Dio fan, but for whatever reason, like something was going on, and I was gonna leave, and then like Heaven and Hell hit the stage, and Dio was just ripping, and I was like, oh, I gotta stay for this. Like, I have to stay for this. So
I saw,
awesome. And I'm glad I did.
Ronnie's second to last show at the theater at Madison Square Garden. I'm sure you were there, Chris.
Yep.
And then his last show, I think, was in Atlantic City.
Atlantic City,
right?
yeah. And that was
Did you go to that one as well?
I didn't. Of course, I regret it afterwards, but nobody knew that was going to be Ronnie's last show ever.
Of course, no. Nobody
but
knew, yeah,
that was that last show they didn't have Coheed and Cambria. They had God, what's her name? The female singer. She's in the band with her brother.
Hailstorm.
Hailstorm did that one date.
That's cool.
But yeah, I saw the Ronnie version of Sabbath 18 times.
Yeah. You know what? One of the coolest things I ever saw was during that show. I wound up staying, and my seats were like such that I could see backstage, and I saw Travis Stever and Claudio Sanchez of Coheed and Cambria. They're fucking side stage, just headbanging, like just rocking out to everything. And I was like, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, and this was like halfway, well, this was late into the tour too. So you can only imagine they've been doing this every night.
Right.
Like, they do this every night. And that's just so cool, man. Like, I don't know. There's something about that speaks to me. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that goes back to when you see like bands that you love music just like you do. You know, they're fans just like us. That's why they do what they do. And when you see them celebrate the way we do, it's something special, something different. So I know exactly what you're talking about. That's awesome. My number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Are you finished?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to cut you off. I'm pretty sure y'all knew that this was coming eventually. But number 2, Destroyer, which is my favorite Kiss.
Sure.
This is a great album. I know that some people, blah, 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 but not me. I think this is a really good album.
It is.
Of course, it starts off with Detroit Rock City, King of Nighttime World, God of Thunder. Of course, one of the best songs by Gene. Shout it out loud, Best. I love Best. I think it's a beautiful song. I
So,
do.
spoken like a true new fan.
Why not?
I mean, I just saw the second to last night of Kiss at Madison Square Garden, and they did like half a Destroyer still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course they still do that, or
Yep.
did, or
Oh, you went to one of the final shows there?
Yeah, I went to the Friday night because I got an unbelievably cheap ticket. 2 or 3 hours before showtime,
Wow.
I got a ticket at Madison Square Garden. It was like section 108, and it was like $180, I think. And like a month earlier, they were like 1,500.
Were they sold out, or how did you get that? Did they just drop
The
prices?
second night, it was 2 nights at Madison Square Garden. Second night sold out right away. First night sold fairly well, but there was a lot of scattered seats.
That speaks.
And
that
I,
speaks to it, man.
got to know how to work Ticketmaster sometimes. I just knew the tickets will drop, and sure enough, day of the show, they literally 2-3 hours before, and I'm 2 hours away. So I bought a ticket and hauled ass to the Garden and made it just before the opening band.
Wow.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, cool, man.
Cool.
All right, man. So my number 2 on the Tom Werman list here, I'm going to Ted Nugent's self-titled, his first solo album.
Yeah.
It's a classic from top to bottom. I mean, you opens with Stranglehold. That's what you gotta fucking know. I mean, one of the best Ted riffs ever. Stormtrooping just what the doctor ordered. Snakeskin Cowboys. Motor City Madhouse. I mean, just classic from top to bottom. I love Derek St. Holmes' voice, man. I mean, that band that he had on those first couple of Nugent albums were just killer, man. And I got to see Ted with when he reunited with Derek St. Holmes, probably 10 years ago. They played in New Jersey, man, I had never seen him with Derek St. Holmes before, and it was great being a Nugent fan that I am, seeing him with Derek. So it was cool. And then after that tour, then Ted went back to being the three-piece. So, but anyway, but my number 2 is going to be his self-titled debut from 1975. So Ted Nugent is my number 2. So now we're down to number 1, man.
Queen of the Forest is on that record, right?
What's that?
Queen of the Forest? Is that on that record? I love that's my favorite Nugent song.
Dude, I mean, forget it, man. It's killer, man. All right, man. So number 1, we're down to number 1. Chris Elio, what do you got, man?
My number 1 Terry Date album is almost a given. It changed the face of metal completely. I was deliberating between the two. The one album that definitely changed the face of metal was the 94 Pantera release, Far Beyond Driven. But the one that preceded it, Vulgar Display of Power, is the one that changed all the way metal sounded forever and ever from that point forward. There's just Walk, This Love, Mouth for War, New Level, fucking Hostile. Holy shit. I mean, this is one of the most blistering albums ever produced until he did Far Beyond Driven, which was the most blistering album ever produced. The only number 1 album to sound like that. But Far Beyond, I mean, Vulgar Display of Power started it all. He also did Cowboys from Hell, which I could have done, but he was basically Pantera's producer throughout their entire career, except for the last album, I think was the only one he didn't do. I mean, Terry Date's mark is all over 90s metal, and it's because of Vulgar Display of Power. So
that is just like Bad Motorfinger. It's just relentless from beginning to end.
Pantera was the most the fact that if I look at the landscape of music right now, even with Slipknot popping some number 1s here and there, the fact that Far Beyond Driven, which is not the album I'm talking about, but the fact that Far Beyond Driven was a number 1 Billboard record in 1994 just goes to tell you how fucked the 90s were.
Oh, the 90s were great. I loved it.
But I mean, we were in a dark place, people. Come on. Like there was no gloves. Like all gloves were off in the 90s, man. Just because of that. Like, how does that become a #1 album? Far Beyond Driven.
It's good.
And like and like, but I mean, like, Vulgar Display of Power was as heavy as it was, right? Now most bands, especially nowadays, but even back then, would go, okay, let's do that again, but maybe make something that will be more commercial a little bit.
Yeah.
No, if you've ever listened to Far Beyond Driven, the first song is literally 10 seconds of just blast beats and screaming. That's all it is. Like, they literally were just like, oh, okay, you want something more commercial? Here you go. Boom. And it was just like, fucking amazing. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's an amazing moment in my life that I got to see that tour with, and I nearly died because it was Biohazard, Prong, Sepultura, and Pantera at Madison Square Garden in the pit. Fucking crazy. Shit was nuts.
That's crazy, man.
And that's my list.
Vulgar is my favorite Pantera album, man. I mean, I had Cowboys before that, but Vulgar, when that came out, dude, I was just like, holy shit. You know, it just, I don't know, Mouth for War, just opening up that album is
so good.
just unbelievable,
man.
I
mean, it was the theme song for Headbangers Ball.
Yeah.
Like a lot. That and
fucking Hostile, right?
Well, that fucking Hostile and one of the middle riffs from Regular People were like the main themes of Headbangers Ball, and it's fucking incredible to me. My favorite Pantera album, just for the record, is Reinventing the Steel, which is the only album that Terry Day didn't produce, but just the riffage on that album is just bar none. And the fact that the last song, if any of you were looking for like how to close a career, I Cast a Shadow, Pantera's last recorded song, is the perfect way to end a career. It's one of the most blistering tracks you'll ever hear. It's fucking incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
And to leave the message, I'll cast a shadow, which they definitely have.
Oh yeah.
Until this embarrassing thing they've done this past year, but I don't want to get into it.
All right, man. Chris Allo, man, you're #1, brother.
Yeah, my #1. This was an easy pick for me. It's my favorite Martin Birch record. It's my favorite Black Sabbath record, and it's my #1 favorite record of all time. These are the two it's probably my most purchased record. These are my two most recent purchases. This is one of the vinyl release and the record store day release of Black Sabbath Mob Rules from 1981. I mean, you know, you could debate endlessly which record is better, Mob Rules or Heaven and Hell. For me, Mob Rules is the darker, heavier of the pair, and for me, to my ears, Mob Rules is the better produced, better sounding record.
It is.
Heaven and Hell is flatter, and you know, Mob Rules has a lot more dynamics to it. And I just think it's a great record and a great sounding record, and yeah, that's my #1.
Brother, Sign of the Southern Cross lives in my head rent free forever and ever. Those verses where it's just atmospheric Thunderdome type shit and Dio singing, like that song will forever.
Agreed. Yeah,
it's my fucking song is
my favorite track off the album for sure.
Love that song so much.
Man, that song still gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, man. I just the way just Tony weaves in and out with the riff, and the way just Ronnie sings over that, and just the drum thunder that, you know, Vinny Appice lays down, and that is just incredible, man. Sign of the Southern Cross might be my favorite Dio era song, like Sabbath song, dude.
I was thrilled when they reunited in 2007, and they not only finally did Sign of the Southern Cross, but it was the longest version they'd ever done, longer than on the record.
Wow.
Because when I saw them 5 times on the 1992 Dehumanizer tour, and they only played Mob Rules from that record. And I remember I even interviewed them over in England, and I was like, you guys aren't playing Sign of the Southern Cross? And they were like, meh. But thankfully they brought it back years later and, you know, extended it.
Well, the one thing, like when when they came back as Heaven and Hell, I still called it Sabbath, but
Same,
when they
yeah.
did the whole Heaven and Hell thing, and when they just said that they were just going to do Dio era songs, I was actually thrilled by that, man.
Me
'Cause
too.
I don't need to hear Iron Man. I don't need to hear fucking Paranoid. All I've heard it so many times before that to make room for more, Dio era songs. I mean, and the fact that they could put in like Southern Cross and do all these and deep cuts from Dehumanizer like
Right.
that you didn't hear. I loved it, man. I mean, I welcome that. You know what I mean? So.
No, and then later to hear the newer stuff was so good too. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love The Devil, I thought it was such a good album. It was really unsung. It didn't get enough credit that it deserved. I mean, from the
Yeah.
artwork to the album, it was so fucking good.
That album should really be reevaluated because
Yeah.
to me, I mean, I'll pick that hand over fist over 13.
Oh God, yes,
For
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
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 I mean,
So-
I think if Ronnie would have lived, they certainly would have toured more for it. I think they just unfortunately due to illness got the rug pulled out under them
Yeah.
on the record. The Devil You Know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, cool, man. So Andy, man, what's your number one, my friend?
My number one by Bob Ezrin is going to be not my favorite Pink Floyd album, but my favorite done by Bob Ezrin. We all should know what that's going to be, and that's going to be The Wall.
Of course.
I mean, it's a great album from beginning to end, and just well, not recently, but it took me a while. It took me a while to get into side 4, which is the judge and the trial and all that, and it really is amazing. It's just not a part that I really got into it early on when I first got into the album and really loved it. Now that I really like side 4, it has really pushed that album very forward for me. So my number one pick is going to be Pink Floyd, "The Wall" by Bob Ezrin. Played a big part.
I love the song "In the Flesh" so damn much.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That song is so amazing.
It's just the production work on it is just amazing, and everything just fit like a glove with the band. And
I love
Bob Ezrin. So
Goodbye Blue Sky, man. That's one of my favorites on there.
oh dude, this sounds so good.
It's so good, man. All right, cool, man. So my number one is going to be the third installment from this band on here because I love this band so much. One of my favorites. And it's going to be Dream Police by Cheap Trick, released in 1979. I think this is I think the whole Tom Werman. I think this is the best produced Cheap Trick album out of his 3 albums that he produced by them. I do love In Color. I love Heaven Tonight. I think this one he brought like orchestration into this and stuff like that. And the title track, obviously everybody knows Dream Police title track. Way of the World is awesome. The House is Rocking with Domestic Problems. I posted, not enough credit goes to Rick Nielsen for his lyrics because, Cheap Trick. I made kind of a little rant on Facebook about how Cheap Trick kind of gets marginalized a little bit. Like people think of them as like this kind of bubblegum kind of power pop band. But when you really dig deep into their albums and you really listen to Rick Nielsen's lyrics, especially on those early albums, man, he wrote a lot of dark lyrics, man. And like The House is Rocking with Domestic Problems is about domestic violence, man, and you're hearing like these lyrics kind of get lost when you're hearing it like against catchy riffs and all that stuff. And that Cheap Trick had that knack of kind of fooling you. Oh yeah, man, we're kind of, very melodic and very catchy. But if you listen to the lyrics, man, there's some fucked up lyrics, man. It's dark. You know what I mean? So I always thought that was kind of like, it always got lost on people. Like, yeah, man, I want you to want me and all that stuff. When you just hear the hits, yeah, you get that impression of them. But like when you really dig deep, man, they're a pretty heavy band, man, and pretty deep, pretty dark. So, and then Gonna Raise Hell's on here. Voices, which is a beautiful ballad, and Robin Sanders, one of my favorite singers of all time. I mean, I think he's incredible. He still sounds great to this day. He just turned
One of the
70.
few. One of the few that still
70
sound
years
great.
old,
Yep.
The guy's still
True.
kicking
Sounds
ass.
good.
So, so yeah, that's gonna be my number one, Dream Police by Cheap Trick, man. So,
Nice.
all right, man, that was awesome, man. Great show, everybody. Chris Elio, I appreciate you guys coming on, Chris.
Yeah,
I'd
thanks for
love to have
having
you
me.
back. I'd love
Yeah,
to have you
thanks a
back
lot,
for
Chris.
more shows, man. You know,
Sure, hit me up.
when you're not so busy with Tranquility.
Yeah,
But,
I got a couple of tape this week, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime.
But you know, when I think of when we think of a topic that I know maybe you might be interested in, I'll hit you up if you're interested. You know, you could always welcome to come on, man.
Awesome.
You know.
Thank you so much.
Yo, Chris.
Tell Pete Porter over there, man. Give him a little nudge. Al Horton, man.
We're taping. Pete and I started a new show called Sabbath Stones, all on Black Sabbath.
Cool.
So we're taping tomorrow. So I will definitely talk to him.
Oh, cool, man. And if you ever have I love Sabbath, man. It's like my second favorite band. So I'm all about that, man. And
Awesome.
if I definitely have a Sabbath themed show, I'll ask you, man. You know, because
awesome. Thank you.
You're my fellow Sabbath, expert over here. So, Elio, man, what do you got going on, brother?
I have new content every Thursday and Saturday. I'll have a live stream starting next month, on top of the myriad of other things that I have going on. So just go over to Redbeard Videos on YouTube or any of the social media sites, Discord, Reddit, Facebook, X, or Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it, Instagram, and everywhere. It's just look up Redbeard Videos and you'll find my shining face.
Andy, man, what do we got going on next week, man?
Next week here on Black Spinner Circle, we are going to be doing the top 10 plus 5 honorable mentions of the year 1970. That is what we got in line next week on Black Spinner Circle. Tomorrow,
Good year in music.
Yeah, great year in music. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll be on the BS sessions with Mark and Jerry, where we are going to be making our very own Heart album. And also on Tuesday is going to be our football episode of Gridiron Smackdown, which we only have 2 more episodes to go in my sports one before we turn into baseball. And then we got a lot of interesting stuff going on over here. So
yeah, I'm hoping to make that football show.
Oh yeah. I always enjoy you.
I also every Saturday have a football video that I do on my channel, which is basically, I pit the mascots up against each other.
Such a fun and wild thing.
Hey man, I'm 500. I've actually made some money with that betting style. So there you go.
Really?
I have.
Yeah.
Well, last week I went 1-1. I picked the Chiefs and the Lions. So,
because the native Indians are going to shoot the Ravens with their arrows.
That's right. They're going to do. I mean, they can outsmart some Ravens, so that's what happened.
The Lions are going to eat the Niners.
They were going to, but apparently Niners figured that shit out.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, man. So that's our show on behalf of Andy Rodriguez and myself.
Yeah,
thank you, Chris Elio. Thank you, Chris Allo, again.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week, man. Have a great night. Cheers, everybody.
Take care.
Good night, y'all.